and has now moved in. He doesn't look too badly scratched up. And very often on these leopard-lion interactions where there is contact, both animals will be very heavily scratched up, which is I'm very glad about, because it means that the leopard got forewarning that this lion was coming and has hopefully moved out. When I got here, there was a lot of aggressive, assertive dominance behavior with this lion. And he's a youngster. He's not a full-grown adult. He's only about 18 months, 2 years of age. So that's why I'm hopeful that he's actually just come across this kill by sheer fluke. And there hasn't been an instance where he's caught the leopard and actually killed him. As we were sitting here when you were talking a little while ago, he was busy contact calling, a lot of low contact calling. Probably about 2 hours ago, I was with another group of lions that got mobile and disappeared. And I'm hoping that this guy is part of that pride, and some of my guys are going to have to jump in a little bit later and just confirm on numbers or pride dynamics that side. I'm hoping this guy has been separated from the pride. And that's why this location might not last very long, because he's calling to actually go and find them now. I'm just going to spin my camera around quickly for you guys as I figure out all the technicalities of this new technology we've been using. There he is lying down over there. And you can see, as in true fashion, lions are lazy. So he's having a good sleep, and he's got quite a full belly, which means he's eaten a lot of that warthog kill, which he would have commandeered from that leopard. But he has gotten up and moved once or twice as he's been doing that contact calling. So, and you can see, I'm just going to move back quickly and show you where I am. I'm in a very, very, very dense area. I'm on the edge of a Afro-montane forest section, which is incredibly thick bush. So it's actually phenomenally lucky that I've found this guy. But hopefully we'll be able to hold the lock for you guys. So what I'm going to do is, now that the pressure is off of me and I can redeem myself and say I found a kitty cat, I'm going to hand you back over to either yourself or Theo for the intros.
Gee whiz, that's like, what an incredible preview to what's going to be an awesome game drive. Thanks, Andrew. That was amazing. I'm going to hand back to Shelley, who's going to hand over to Duncan, who's going to hand back to me. So Shelley, over to you.
Okay, fantastic. So we've got 3 guests with us. I'd like to hand over to Duncan just to welcome our participants for this afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you here. We're delighted to be at Shamwari Private Game Reserve in South Africa, one of the most prestigious private reserves you can find. Obviously, we've got a phenomenal team out in the bush currently finding some game, and hopefully more people joining in as we go. So really, Theo, over to you. Show us what you've got. We're really excited to be here.
Awesome, Duncan. Thank you very, very much indeed. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And on behalf of our CEO, Joe Clutie, welcome to Shamwari Private Game Reserve. Before we kicked off, I was saying to Duncan that we've been doing these virtual safaris and virtual Shamwari experiences for the last 3 months since this global lockdown started, and we closed all of our lodges. And with it being lockdown and with everyone being in isolation and just cut off from the whole world, we've welcomed the opportunity to be able to bring this incredible place with this amazing wildlife and just showcase what we've got at Shamwari, because it's almost like therapy for us and it's kept us sane. So while we don't get to see you and serve you in person, we get to bring you this wonderful setting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my camera around and I'm going to explain where we are. In short, we are about an hour outside of Port Elizabeth, and I'm standing on the deck of our new luxury tented camp, which is called Sandile. And it opened in December of last year, so effectively it's only been operating for 3 months before we closed our doors, as we did for the whole reserve at the end of March. It's got 9 stunning individually freestanding luxury tents. That's one down there in the distance. And then I'm standing in the main section, which is basically the reception and the restaurants area over there. And then if I move over this way, this is the bar, and I'll pop inside and just show you that. That's, folks, is what a deserted lodge looks like. This is one of 7 lodges at Shamwari. Obviously, it's our flagship lodge, very private, very exclusive. When I hand back to Andrew in a few minutes, I'll walk down and get inside one of the tents so I can show you. But it's very private, very exclusive, very intimate. As I say, it's our flagship lodge, and it's very, very special. The other lodges at Shamwari, we've got our Eagles Crag in the north of the reserve, which has got 9 suites. Lobengula has got six rooms. Baeti Luxury Tented Camp, that's also got 12 tents. And then here in the south where I am, we've got our Riverdene Family Lodge, which is tailored for kids and families. And then we've got our Longley Manor, which is also one of the new lodges that underwent a 1-year facelift. But as I say, where I'm standing here, this is Sandile, and this is our flagship property. If I pan across, literally, you've got 180 degrees panoramic view of absolutely nothing. There's not another building in sight, not a vehicle, not another person. It's just absolutely beautiful bush. So in front of me there, you've got 25,000 hectares of private game reserve. We're the largest, or one of the largest private game reserves in South Africa. And there's obviously loads to do. You've got your morning game drives, your evening game drives. We've got spa facilities at all of our lodges. You can go on bushwalks. We've got trips to the Born Free Big Cat Sanctuary, which we look after here within the reserve, as well as our Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. So we're conveniently located. We're quite proud of the fact that we're in the Eastern Cape, because we're probably one of the most celebrated and respected conservation stories in terms of how we've rehabilitated the land and reintroduced all of the wildlife. But that's definitely something Andrew's going to touch on. But we're conveniently located for folks that are visiting from Cape Town, Johannesburg, or Durban, because you've got a direct flight into PE, and then an hour later, this is where you're at. But without further ado, folks, I'm going to excuse myself while I walk down to one of the tents, and so I can show you inside, and I'm going to hand you over to Andrew. But before I do, Duncan, there was something I wanted to share with you. Why this particular experience with you and Glenn today is so significant, because as I was getting in my vehicle to drive here, I found this. And please excuse me for getting a bit philosophical, because as you know, the travel industry has come to a grinding halt and people are suffering. We're suffering, our staff are suffering. So today, after almost 3 months of lockdown, when I found this in the middle of the road, I thought that was a good omen. A horseshoe is a sign of hope. It's a sign of good luck. And this particular horseshoe I showed to our CEO, Joe Clutie, who told me that it probably dates back over 100 years. So Andrew, maybe you can give a bit more insight on this. But for me, I wanted to say, Duncan, thank you, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have found this horseshoe. I'm going to go and put this above the gate at the main entrance to Shamwari, because I think it's an omen that we're all going to beat this COVID virus. We're going to overcome, and we're going to bounce back with vengeance. So there's my bit of luck and hope. And I wanted to say thanks to you, Duncan. But for now, over to Andrew, and he's going to show you some very cool wildlife, I hope.
Awesome stuff. Thanks very much, Theo. Appreciate it. And yeah, this young male lion's done a little bit more contact calling 2 or 3 times. I'm hopeful that he'll get up and try and find the rest of the pride that he belongs to. He's obviously not a nomadic individual if he's contact calling, which is something that very often happens with young males, where at about 2 years, 2.5 years of age, when they're kicked out, they become nomadic and move around by themselves or in a coalition. I'm doubtful of that. I think this guy belongs to the Southern Pride of Lions. But yes, yeah, awesome find that horseshoe. Yeah, let's hope there's a lot of good luck there on its way. Yeah, very, very special part of the country. It's an amazing reserve. As Theo was saying, we're an hour out of Port Elizabeth. We're also on a very interesting part of the country where there's a line that splits the country east-west, pretty much down the middle, and receives about 500 millimeters of rain per annum. And that's also the point in South Africa where so many of our biomes converge. It's almost like a melting pot, and we're pretty much on that line. So the diversity is unbelievable. We can sit in this area like I am now, on the edge of Afro-montane forest, and sit and look at lions and leopards, or we can move out into the grasslands and look at zebras and giraffe and that type of stuff. So a very, very diverse area and very, very special. And obviously our guides are very well trained and just super keen to do what we do. We obviously just have the lack of guests on our vehicles and on guided walks, which is what we're doing all this for, to try and make sure that everyone remembers us when lockdown ends in a few weeks' time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start moving out of this area, see if I can pick up on any more signs of that leopard, or interpret anything else that may have happened, to kind of decipher, hopefully, that male leopard managed to move out of this area if he got enough of a heads up. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand you over to Simone, and let's have a look at the sighting that she has.
Hi everyone, I hope everyone is doing really well. So I've been having a really exciting sighting. We heard some elephants, very unhappy, they were busy trumpeting, and we went to investigate to see why they were so unhappy. And we came across this beautiful sighting with some lions. So this is probably the pride that Andrew was referring to, where that male, where he's missing from this pride. But yeah, so they've been eating some sort of meal. You can see the one at the back is still busy chewing. So with lions, they're very social, and your females, they will always stick together within the pride. But sadly for the males, once they reach puberty, as Andrew mentioned, the dominant male says, sorry, but I don't like the competition, and they'll get kicked out, where they'll then start to tiptoe around the dominant male's territory. And eventually, once they reach sexual maturity, which is quite late in life, about 7 years, they will then start to compete to be able to form their own pride. But often males, they'll also form a little coalition with other males that have also been kicked out. I see these lions, so they're trying to steal the bones from each other. It's very exciting when they interact, when there's food around, as lions are quite aggressive when it comes to eating. They will bite and growl at each other, and then afterwards they'll say, I'm sorry, and help groom each other. If you're able to see the one that's busy still chewing on the bone, you'll see they've got this beautiful black tips on their ears. And this is actually how they communicate with each other, especially when they're hunting. As they can't growl at each other and say, go left or go right. So they'll use their ears to click, and that's how they communicate. As well as the tip of the tail, you see it's also black in color. So this is also really helpful for when they have cubs, as if they're walking through long grass, the black tip of the ears and also the black tip of the tail, it's a little follow me sign. And it's just a beautiful sighting. They also, it's very nice to be able to see them now like this during the day, as lions are mostly active at nighttime, being nocturnal animals. But it is winter here, so it's not as hot as it usually gets. So with this, it does give us a really good opportunity to be able to see them during the day. Is there any questions?
Simone, can I jump in?
Yeah. Shishlet, it looks like you have something interesting you would like to share with.
Yeah. Good afternoon, folks. It's a beautiful day again in Shamwari. Welcome to Safari. It's beautiful, beautiful here. I'm actually a little bit distant from where the guys are. I'm quite elevated. As you can see, if I pan around, it's this beautiful grassland area. Okay. Like Andrew was saying, it's quite a diverse reserve there where we are, which is, got a lot of diversity. What I do have here, I, I thought I should just show you before they actually disappear. I have one of the big five. Okay, see that? I've got these African Cape buffaloes. Right. I just actually came across them as I was driving to find more animals for you. And so there's that bushland where they're actually standing now. Like one of them actually came out running there. So I thought maybe they actually saw something, and they were all actually pointing their nose towards that bush over there. You can see that male again is, wow, there's a bit of a juggle there, I say. So it actually doesn't look like there's danger or something like that. Just the males are actually jostling each other. So with buffaloes, another animal, but these guys are worth mentioning. They're actually very, very formidable creatures, and they're known to chase lions. And when lions are actually hunting buffaloes, it's not just a one-way situation. They can actually really, go for them and even kill lions. So the males are much darker in color. See the one that is right behind there. So they're much, much darker in color. And the female is a bit reddish in color. Okay. You actually really can't reach maturity, which is around about 5 to 6 years compared to the rest. Okay. Yeah, so once they reach maturity, the males lose the horns, which you call boss. Actually, they will actually use actually fight each other. It's quite a exciting when you actually when that does okay. You can see there's a lot of other males here. Right. So what's quite interesting about this, they are actually bulk grazers, which means they're not selective to what grass they eat. They tend to actually graze only grass, and what that does is that they actually crop the grass to the level where other species which are very selective what grass they eat, they're actually able to
Sekhle, we are losing your signal.
Interesting without really competing with one another. There's few birds on top of that one. They tend to be most like buffaloes, rhinos, and giraffes. And what they do is they actually feed on the ticks and parasites of the animal. And in return, they're getting a free meal, and the buffaloes get or other animals get their fur cleaned. So it's quite a nice symbiotic relationship between the birds and the animals. You can actually hear them grazing past me. It almost sounds like a bushfire when you hear it. It's quite a good sight. You can see the very, very reddish in color, almost the color of the grass. Okay, you wonder why is that? They actually one of the most vulnerable in the herd. So lions will actually pick or the weakest or even the youngest in the herd. And with the buffalo, the grass, you see that? How tiny they are. So cute. Beautiful. All right. All right. As I try and position my vehicle, I'm going to hand you back to one of our colleagues.
Well, let's hand over to Theo. I think Theo's ready to go at the tent, Sishle. So if we can hand back to you, Theo.
All right, Theo. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Andrew. Shelley, you got to turn my camera back on. Okay, there we go, guys. All right, I know the lads are on some incredible sightings, and Simone as well, so I'm going to take you on a quick whirlwind tour through one of our tents. This is the arrival. As I said, each and every tent is completely freestanding and an individual unit, so obviously that lends itself to what travel is going to be like in this new COVID world of ours. Many of the guests that checked in here in December and January, actually the only time they ever left their tent was to go on a game drive. So they really are spacious and comfortable, and all the creature comforts. So as you walk in, you've got a beautiful heated plunge pool directly in front of you with your own private sun deck. I'm going to try, without falling into the pool, walk to the end of the deck so I can pan back and show you what the entire tent looks like in all of its glory. So that's one freestanding unit over there. And now I'll take you inside and show you where you do absolutely nothing for at least 3 or 4 days. So as we enter the tent, on the left, a nice little seating area. And to show you that it really, in fact, is a genuine tent, even though it's a luxury tent, I'm showing you the ceiling units. This is your sleeping area and your double bed, which overlooks the bush through these floor-to-ceiling glass sliding doors, which I'm going to open for you. Another service that we're all going to be offering, I think, in this post-COVID world of ours is in-room dining and private dining. So that's a perfect option for you at Sandile, because what we'll do is whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, we'll deliver it and you can enjoy it on your deck, overlooking your view. I'm not sure if I mentioned earlier, the lodge itself is built on the banks of the Bushman's River, which flows directly below me. Obviously, it's a dry riverbed at the moment. Take you back inside and show you the rest of the room. It gets pretty cold here in winter, so we've installed a beautiful fireplace in each and every tent. And then, of course, tea, coffee making facilities, and of course, the minibar. The bathrooms are a feature, because you've got a stunning bath over there, which again is surrounded by glass with views overlooking the bush. Now, please don't think I'm weird, because I'm going to take you into the shower, but through the outside door, and you've not quite stayed in a luxury tent until you've been out here and taken a shower in your outdoor shower overlooking 25,000 hectares of beautiful private game reserve. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is our newest lodge that's just opened, and certainly our flagship. It's absolutely stunning and beautiful, and we're very, very proud of it. So we figured if we're going to show you a little bit of Shamwari, obviously Andrew's going to show you some wonderful wildlife and tell you all about the conservation story. But we're very proud of the new Sandile Luxury Tented Camp. And this is probably going to be one of the first lodges that opens when everyone's allowed to travel and get on airplanes. So we figured this will be a nice little taster to whet your appetite. So thanks very much for your time, folks. I'm going to love and leave you. I'm going to hand over to Andrew. And from now on, for the rest of the afternoon, it's just about looking at these stunning views, beautiful landscape, and some incredible wildlife, together with some rich stories about the conservation and what Andrew and his team get up to. So thanks for your time. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon. And Andrew, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Theo. Appreciate it. Welcome back from my side. There was a question a little while ago about animal activity. Has there been any change to the animals' activities because of lockdown and a lack of movement on the reserve? And the answer to that is no, not really. None that I've noticed anyway. we have been very fortunate in that we've been out on reserve, and instead of taking game drives, we've been doing the game drives without people, but filming a lot of the stuff and posting that content onto our social media platforms and online and YouTube and that type of stuff. So we've been on the reserve a lot, and we've been viewing animals a lot. We've been finding them a lot. I don't think there's been any noticeable difference in their behavior. It's not like they're running away from us now. I'm careful I don't walk too far away. I tend to get lost in my own world. But yeah, so no noticeable difference to the animals. We are very fortunate that we regulate our sightings very carefully with the guides in terms of ethics and numbers and that type of stuff. So the animals are incredibly habituated to the vehicles. They are very calm. We don't ever surround animals with 3, 4, 5, 10 vehicles. It's 2 vehicles in a sighting, and for that reason they are completely habituated to the vehicles. They don't see them as a threat at all, and they just carry on about their daily habits and whatever they needed to do, and it's our job really just to sit and observe. And as I'm standing here talking, I mean, I have the most incredible views out over here. I can see a number of different species of animals out here. Point to that hill over there that's in the dark shadow over there. That's where I was with that lion. So I've traveled quite a distance, and I'm probably about another close on 2.5, 3 kilometers away from where Simone had the other pride of lions. So just to give you an idea of distance where he needs to travel in order to find the family. So yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting time. We've done a lot of stuff out in the bush, and so yeah, I mean, the animals are carrying on doing their thing, but no strange behavior per se that we've noticed. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand you over to Jean, and let's have a chat with Jean. See what you're up to, Jean.
Thanks, Andrew. Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to another beautiful day here on Shamwari. So enough of me. I've got some beautiful animals just up ahead of me. I'm going to take you in a little bit closer and then show you what I'm looking at. So we've been out and about scouting around and trying to find some sightings, and had these 3 beautiful beasts lying in front of me. I'm going to zoom into you shortly. Enjoying the late afternoon sun. Like everyone's mentioned, it is technically winter here for us, but doesn't mean it's not been beautiful days. Definitely can't compare it to winters anywhere else in the world. All right, there we go. Everyone can see them all right. Some beautiful white rhinos just relaxing in the late afternoon sun. I'm slightly out of the wind. They are just so beautiful. White rhinos, as opposed to black rhino, nothing to do with color whatsoever. Potentially comes from a mistranslation of the word bait, which was referred to by the Dutch settlers, and it could have been mistranslated when the English settlers arrived here. So they were called Weitlip neushoorns in Dutch, and yeah, so mistranslated to white, and then if the one was white, they decided the other must probably be black rhinos. So nothing to do with color whatsoever. It's that beautiful wide mouth that they're referring to. If I zoom in even more, you can see it's got a very broad muzzle there, perfectly adapted for eating large quantities of grass. And the black rhino cousins, we call browsers, these guys spend most of their days consuming massive quantities of grass. Probably these ones in front of me will probably be consuming about 50 kilograms of grass a day. So they're lawnmowers. There we go. Slowly waking up. Now you'll notice very small eyes on these guys. So their sense of sight is actually quite bad, but their hearing and their smell is acute. Especially when we are out and about, moving around the bush, walking, especially on guided walks. They're quite interesting characters. You can get fairly close to them on foot as long as you make sure that your wind is in your favor and you don't don't talk too much, but yeah, otherwise they're quite good to view on foot, and it's quite a privilege to be able to walk among these giants. Now, sadly, poaching has proven quite tricky over the last couple of years. We've seen quite a large increase in that in South Africa in general, and they're poached for those horns on their faces. Now, we refer to it as a horn, but technically speaking, it's actually compressed keratin fibers. So very similar in substance to what we have as hair and nails, and very valuable on the black market. The only ones that need that horn really is these rhinos. Slowly waking up. Not to be funny, but it was quite an interesting thought that they have there. But yeah, probably going to start getting up and start grazing a little bit again. Like I mentioned earlier, you know, quite a large quantity of grass that needs to be consumed on a daily basis. So it's time to have a little nibble again. But again, beautiful, amazing to be able to sit with these guys. Anyone got any questions? Everyone's been very quiet this afternoon, not many questions around. How much do the babies weigh? When they're born, they probably weigh around, I'd say probably about 50 to 60 kilograms. But they grow quite rapidly. And then eventually big adult females will probably be weighing around 1.4, 1.5 tons, as your big males can go over 2 tons, making them the second largest land mammal on Earth, really. So, yeah.
Jean, there was a question about when do you think we are going to open up? And it's such a tricky question. You know, when the world went into this, I don't think anyone realized the magnitude of what was about to happen. And even South Africa said we're going into a 21-day lockdown. And that 21 days was extended, and then there was the introduction of various levels, and with the levels come different forms of restrictions. It's so difficult to say. We will open the second that we're allowed to, and we're hoping that's going to be towards the later part of the year, September, October, if we're lucky. Yeah, we have all of our plans in place, as Theo was saying and mentioning. We've got our social distancing right. We've got our numbers right, so that everything can be done to mitigate risks. We've got our plans in place. We're ready to go. It now just is going to come down to getting the thumbs up from government to say borders can be opened, and you know, yeah, Shirley, as you're saying, four packs on a vehicle. So it's you know, as soon as we're allowed to, we're ready to go. We're rearing to go. We're desperate to go. We need to go. So yeah, tricky times. Sorry, Jean, back over to you.
Do they actually leave mom? It can vary to some extent, but generally speaking, it depends on how quickly mom has a new calf again. So she should actually be pregnant for about 16 months. But let's say calf interval is probably sitting at around 2.5 to 3 years, and she'll have a new baby, and normally she'll then tend to kick out the previous youngster. But sometimes it could be a little bit longer, so you do sometimes see that they stick around a bit longer. Quite often what happens is the mom will let the youngster leave temporarily while the new baby is born, but then as soon as the little one is a little bit bigger, quite often the previous calf would sometimes rejoin and or could tag onto another friend and its mother. So generally speaking, you tend to see that sub-adults tend to hang around with some other friends or other females, if not their own mothers, for a little while longer. Join the company and the safety in numbers, really. only real threat to them, naturally speaking, would generally be lions, and then it would only be towards the youngsters. Mom and dad have those beautiful horns, which they can use not only in fights amongst each other, but also to defend themselves and their youngsters against predators such as lion. And yeah, best time to visit any time of the year. Depends what you like. Winters can be a little bit cooler, especially early mornings, late afternoons, but that gives you an amazing opportunity to potentially do things such as day drives, which is incredible. We'll start a little bit later, maybe do a breakfast first, and then head out onto the reserve. We can arrange for a picnic to be brought out to us somewhere out in the bushes, and then we come back late afternoon after a sundowner before it gets too cold. Summertime, there's more babies around, so you know it's a balancing act. Best is probably to come twice a year and come and experience the different seasons for yourself. But yeah, any time for us here, any time of the year is a good time to come. In summertime, we'll start a little bit earlier, and the game drives in the afternoon, we'll head out a little bit later. But any time is a good time.
John, I think it's just also important to add on to that in winter time we get mobile a little bit later in the mornings. In summertime we get mobile a little bit later in the afternoons, and that very often to mirror the animals' movements. In summertime, when it's hot, the animals are a lot more lethargic during the day, so sightings are generally quiet and the animals are sleeping. We go out later in the afternoon, that's when the animals are now starting to get active and busy, and the same within winter time. You know, every time of the year has one more special time tagged to it that another part of the year doesn't have. At the moment, for example, it's winter time. There's so much dormancy. There's so much non-activity, if I can put it like that. When you look around, the grass, everything's in hibernation. But there's an important part of this time of the year. It's mating season for so many of the different animals. A lot of the animals have a half-year gestation period, 6 months gestation period, and if you put that into play, it's the animals will then start giving birth in the end of November, December, January, if mating season is now. So you know, it's a fantastic time to watch animal behavior. All of that's going on, and that's I think a great thing. You know, it's like you say, Jean. There's just every time of the year has got something special to it that makes it unique and different to the next part of the year. So I suppose it hinges off of what you prefer and enjoy.
Definitely. So there was a question regarding dehorning. It can potentially be a bit of a controversial topic depending on who you ask, etc. Everyone has their own opinions on it. On the reserve, as a general rule, we tend not to do that. So we believe the rhinos have their horns for a reason, and we try and protect them as is. So we've got a very, very good dedicated anti-poaching team that does an absolutely amazing job. So many different facets to it. We can't divulge too much about it, but they do such a phenomenal job that for the time being, we're not considering it as far as I'm aware. Andrew, I don't know if you want to add anything to that. And then on that note, I'm probably going to leave these guys and try and see if I can find something else for you guys to show.
Thanks, Sean. Just yeah, look, we have had some instances on the reserve where we've come under threat and attack by poachers. In South Africa, the average numbers changes, and obviously lockdown has had an impact, but it can be up to 3 rhinos per day in South Africa getting poached, and that's per day. You know, we've had maybe 3 instances in the last 12 years. You know, the surge suddenly spiked in 2008. So as Ron was saying, we are phenomenally lucky. We've got an incredible anti-poaching unit. We don't give away any of our secrets, other than our anti-poaching team is very secretive. So yeah, it's a very good group of guys that keep us well protected. And yeah, let's hope it stays that way. Education is key. Eh? We believe that as long as the demand is there, there'll be threats. So we believe as guides, educating our guests as much as possible, trying to get the message out there as to the importance of protecting rhinos and species and diversification. And I think that's one of the hinges that Shamwari has been built off of, is conserving a vanishing way of life. It's our ethos. It's what we stand for, and it's how this business started. It took many years to get this land rehabilitated, returned back to the state that it was originally found in. And I think that's one of the reasons why we are so well known and so recognized, is the success story that our conservation reintroduction has had into this area. It really is a phenomenal story. Before I waffle on too much, I want to see if Jan's got anything that we can hand over to Jan quickly. You're on, Jan.
Yeah, good afternoon, Andrew. Yes, thank you very much. Hello, Duncan, Shelley, and yes, guys, it's a phenomenal afternoon here. I'm just going to switch around, and I'm going to show you everyone what am I currently looking at. I know there's so many sightings out and about this afternoon, and like Andrew said, and Theo said, and John and Simone and Seathley, there's so much right around us. I know the light's not too great. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit for you folks here. I just want to show you what I'm looking. There's a couple of giraffes here, but this particular youngster here, just going to stand up a little bit so I can get the canopy of the vehicle. There we go. It's a little bit better. And what I've noticed is the rest of the journey and the herd, as I move across, it's sundown at time. Shelley, absolutely. Light is fading very quickly. And I saw Duncan was asking if the lions are still there. And Duncan, as far as I know, yes, they are. So I'm just going to have a quick talk about the giraffes that we're currently seeing here. And then I'm going to bounce back to Simone. But this in particular youngster remained behind while the rest of the journey was on the move. And as you can see, he's busy chewing on a piece of bone there. It's what we call osteophagy. It's a mammal or an animal chewing bones, and that's literally just trying to get a little bit of the extra calcium intake. Andrew was mentioning earlier about the plants and the vegetation, and particularly in wintertime, that everything is, I won't say on hold, but it's plants are going into hibernation. There's not really much growth going on, and your giraffe is continuously on the move in looking for the most nutritious plants and bushes to be feeding on. Right around us where we are currently sitting, there's a lot of these acacia trees. It's a high protein tree. A lot of the animals get some water content from it, some calcium as well. And this particular, as the journey was moving on, just all of a sudden stopped, opened up his legs wide apart, and then went down to go and have a look what was lying underneath him. And as you can see, he is just chewing away, and he will chew that piece of bone. That could be anything. It could have been a carcass of an animal that fell prey to a lion or a cheetah. I'm in an area where it's quite known for cheetah activities here and lion activities. And this youngster was actually there closer to the hill, right there at the back. And I do not know if there was any other predators down towards that river line, because he stopped and continuously turned around and looked into that area, and then he would move a little bit closer towards where he's currently standing. And then he eventually just made his way here. But there's a lovely group of zebras also that walk past here, and you tend to find always other mammals or other species following these guys, and it's in a sense of a protection for them. They don't have the height that these guys have. You're looking at giraffes that can stand anything from 4.2 to almost 5 meters. I think they're the tallest ever giraffe on record is just over 6 meters ever been recorded. And where I'm actually sitting now, Sandile is not too far. There's Sandile Lodge there, folks, and the rest of the herd is quite far off, but there's one standing there just on the right hand side of my aerial, and the rest of the giraffes are walking up towards the hillside there. And yeah, so you'll tend to find other animals following and joining these guys as they're moving along, and it's still incredible. I know it's not one of the big five, but it's definitely a must-see animal while you're on safari. The southern giraffe that we can see here, Shelley, yes, so it looks like John does have some good sightings there as well. While we still have a bit of time left, I've got so much that I want to talk to you guys about the giraffes, but I'm going to bounce quickly to Simone to fall back onto Duncan's question earlier about if the lions are still there. And then Simone will try to see what John's still got in store there. Well, we've got some light because you guys, folks can see the sun is about to go down there. So Simone, over to you.
Thanks, Jan. Yeah, so I still have one female lioness that's just looking for the rest of the pride. The others have just dropped down into towards the river line. Lions are really lazy cats actually, and especially when they've had something to eat, they can easily sleep about 20 hours a day, which is quite incredible. But yes, what this female's busy doing, animals have got a special organ at the top of a pellet. It's called the Jacobson's organ. And by using this organ, she's able to determine if there's a male or another female in the area. Males often use this to determine if females are pregnant or in estrus, ready to mate. And the female will also be able to tell if it's a dominant male to immature males in the family. Yeah, very, very beautiful. Very curious. Jeff, John, I know we're losing light, so if you want to go ahead.
Hello guys, I don't know if you can hear me too well. It's getting down towards the drift here. But we do have some elephants. I heard everyone was asking for elephants earlier as well. So beautiful to actually get to see them. So they're actually technically all around me here. It's quite thick down towards the drift here. But I can hear elephants all around me. One or two coming out into the road, and they must be one of my favorites. I mean, they are such fascinating animals. Lions are incredible to see, but quite often they tend to be quite lazy, being cats and all that. Whereas elephants, having to feed quite a lot, they tend to be active most of the time, and that we do find them always up to something, whether it's good or bad. A little bit tricky to show you more elephants, but hopefully while spending some time here, we might get some more coming through. There's another big female starting to come up towards the back. And I know she's got a fairly young one. There it is. There's a little one coming behind mom. Beautiful. We're going to have to start moving. They might want to use the road here. I'm just going to move back a tad. Give them space. Decide where they want to move to. How old is the little one? That one is probably about 6 months, if that much. And then we've got a nice big female at the back there as well. Beautiful. In these elephants. Again, I can't ever stop watching them. They are such fascinating creatures. Big animals, so they do demand right of way. I'll just make sure that I give this girl a space. But as you can see, you don't really want to get much closer. I mean, they are beautiful animals. Our elephants are extremely relaxed, though. And they provide us with some exceptional viewing, like some other parts of the world. Being charged on safari. Can't tell you all the secrets that I've been having. You're going to have to come here and see for yourself. But nothing serious enough that I felt like I'd be in serious danger. So sometimes we do have a mock charge or so, not necessarily here. I mean, I've been guiding on a couple of different reserves before as well, but yeah, we might have a bit of a tricky light situation here now, but nonetheless, beautiful to see the guys there. Hello, Mom. Hello, Mimi. Cute little thing. Always got attitude, especially if they've got their mom behind them, which is a fairly large bodyguard. Right. I'm very, very glad that we managed to at least come and see some elephants for you guys. I think it's been a phenomenal afternoon on drive. We already got 4 of the big 5 as well as some giraffes. So I'm quite chuffed. I'm not sure about the rest of you. Beautiful. There we go. Simone, I'm going to hand back to you just temporarily and just see if I can reposition and maybe get another angle on these elephants. All right.
Thanks, John. Unfortunately, I've lost the lions. They've headed into a thick area. We are trying to see if we can find them, but you'll see we're sitting on this lookout point with a really beautiful view. The sun is busy setting behind us. Yeah, it's no clouds in the sky, so it's really, really beautiful. Andrew, I'm gonna hand it back to you.
Thank you very much, Simone. So I think what was quite interesting there was obviously we are very fortunate at Shamwari being a private game reserve, where the guides are the only people out in the bush driving around on game drive, so there's no private vehicles to contend with. And for that reason, it allows guides to have a lot more freedom and flexibility with the game drives. We do allow off-roading for high-profile animals. The bush is very resilient in this area, so as long as we do it ethically and where there are places like Simone, she was able to follow in certain instances, we will follow the animals. It extends the sightings for much longer. It allows us to view a lot more of the animal. In many places around the country, if the animal steps off of the road, that's it. You're not allowed to follow it. So we are very lucky at Shamwari, and yeah, it allows us to have an amazing time with our guests. We tailor make our safaris. We allocate our guests to a guide, and that's it. The guide will then spend all the time with the guests, discussing what they want to see, what their expectations are, what their favorite animals are, all of that type of stuff. Because at the end of the day, we've got to create memories, and we've got to make sure that we get it right. So everything that guest wants to do, the guide will then tailor make that safari all around that, and for those animals, and it turns into such a team event on the vehicle. A lot of little internal competitions as well, sometimes on the vehicle and sometimes amongst other vehicles, about who's going to find the animal first, or who's seen the most of this or the most of that. So it's highly entertaining. It really is a good time. So yeah, there was a question, how long do you come and stay? Yeah, 2 nights, 3 nights recommended. That will really give you a well-rounded experience. Often what I've been doing on these live broadcasts is I'm not in a game drive vehicle, I'm on foot walking around, and it just gives a different perspective. And it is another thing that we offer on Shamwari is guided walks, where we have the ability to be on foot with your guests as a walking ranger, and it's just a whole completely different experience to experience nature on foot. Your senses just suddenly come alive. You start smelling stuff, you start hearing stuff, you start listening for a little twig breaking, you start listening for a bird alarm calling that could signify a rhino sleeping in the bushes or anything like that. So your senses and what you're in tune with is phenomenal. So it really is a different perspective out on foot and in a game drive vehicle, and so it's the bringing together the best of both worlds there. So really special experiences. From my side, I'm heading towards the setting sun. I've left that region where I was with that lion. He moved down into the bushes. That leopard, I haven't seen any other signs of him. So later on tomorrow, at some stage, I'm heading back into that area, and I'll really spend some time looking for tracks and listen around and see if I pick up on anything. Hopefully he smelt those lions coming a ways away and cleared out of there. I don't know if there's any other guide on the reserve that wants to jump back to their sighting, bounce back to any other guide. Anyone jumping on?
Come on, I'm just going to jump on there very quickly again. I know it's back onto the giraffes, but it's quite an interesting place where I'm positioned now. So I don't know if you folks can see them. I'm just going to try zoom in a little bit. There is probably over 10, 15 giraffes right on top of this hill. Right on top of the hill. All of the road overlooking Sandile Lodge there at the back. So, you know, unfortunately, I can't get too close to them where they are now currently. And, you know, and it's literally just, it's food that's doing that for them. You know, there's probably some lush trees and bushes up there that they're interested in. And you can see the whole journey is on the move on that ridge line, walking, and eventually are they going to drop down? Just look at the amazing light currently. Sorry, I just stopped. I heard some vocalizing coming into this valley. I do not know if you folks also heard it. It sounded like one of our primates, like a contact calling, almost sounded like a baboon calling. And, you know, in a way, it almost got that giraffe's attention as well, because they were just stopping and staring into that direction. But to come back to the amazing sunlight that we've got now, it's golden hours, we call it here on the reserve, makes photographic opportunities just incredible. You know, and even we are positioned, you know, if you've got keen photographers on your vehicle, there's a little bit of them coming up there and the top still just moving through. It's such a perfect area. It will make actually a funny picture. I don't know if, a little bit more. It is actually incredible. Can you see all those heads just sticking out? It's actually comical. They're all walking in a single file. There are about 15 plus giraffes just walking in a single file all along that ridge line. And if you had a wide lens camera and a good zoom to get to that, it would have made an incredible shot of looking this beautiful plain here right in front of Sandile Lodge. But a gorgeous afternoon still, folks. It's like Shelley said earlier, it's definitely sundowner time almost here on the reserve. It's this time around that where we stop, get out the drinks out of the back, put up a nice table up front with some lovely beverages and some snacks that goes along with it, and we just recap about what we've seen for the day. And
Simone, any luck with those lions?
No, Shelley, no luck yet. We saw them heading down towards the river line, so we are busy wrapping around to see if we don't get any luck.
Okay, so let's head over to Jean for one last look at the elephants before we start signing off GTI.
Just in time to see the matriarch shunt one of the youngsters. We've got a big adult female here next to us, and she's just making sure that one of these young boys are put in place. So elephant society means the ladies are in charge, and just lady boss around here. There's the youngster moving away. See his head, making sure you can keep his distance there from her. But yeah, incredible, beautiful elephants, some interaction between them. There's mom coming at the back. Beautiful. Flapping the ears. Sometimes people get a little bit worried when they see the elephants flapping their ears. They think it's a sign of agitation. Not necessarily the case. They are specially adapted organs. I mean, obviously, they can use them to be able to amplify sound because the ear opening is actually to the front of the ears. Sometimes we think it's at the back, but it acts like a massive parabolic disc, and it can concentrate the sound to the ear hole itself. But other than that, it is like the car's radiator pretty much. So they've got a lot of blood vessels that actually run through the ears, and the blood is pumped from the heart through the ears before it goes to the brain, and it helps to cool down the temperature. Massive animals in the African sun, very dark, so they do generate quite a lot of heat, and that helps them facilitate in cooling themselves. And quite often you'll see that if they find a puddle of water or some mud, they'll quite often spray it behind the ears itself. and that'll help them cool down. And in extreme circumstances, which I've seen as well, you sometimes see them, sometimes actually see them using water from inside their stomach. If they can't find water or some form of cooling down, the mothers sometimes will put their trunks down their throat, pull water from inside the stomach, and spray it behind the baby's ears to help them cool down. Sounds a little bit disgusting, but shows you where mom's love will go. So yeah.
Jean, sorry to interrupt there. I don't know if you can hear me too well. I lost signal, but I've just come across a black rhino. How awesome is that? Black rhino and white rhino on one day.
Perfect, Andrew. I think you're sitting just in front of me, so go ahead, enjoy.
There we go. There's a black rhino, folks. That's quite a rare sighting. You can see that head is a lot more barrel-shaped and rounder. Even the body's got a slightly different shape to a white rhino. Unfortunately, where I'm sitting on the reserve, I've got a hill just behind me, so cell phone reception is very bad. Although this sighting is absolutely amazing, but if I move, I'm going to lose signal. But yeah, so that's the notorious black rhino. Quite a grumpy fella on foot. They can be quite aggressive. Sometimes they even come storming out the bushes towards vehicles just because they're quite cantankerous. I prefer to think of them as quite nervous animals, and they just want to come charging to warn off whatever would-be predator is giving them a bit of a fright. Quite curious animals as well. But yeah, something we have to definitely watch out for on foot. And you can see, I'm just going to go forward slightly, that prehensile lip is perfect for what he's doing. It looks like his head's down and he's busy eating grass, but he's not. He's busy selectively feeding on a whole bunch of little forbs, tiny little succulent plants. And that prehensile lip, you can see that point at the end, will give him the ability to be very, very selective and choose exactly the right leaves and twigs and branches that he wants. So absolutely phenomenal sightings this afternoon. I have to say, well done, team. That's very good sightings. So I think from my side, I'm going to sign off. And yeah, thank you very much to everyone for joining. Really enjoyed it.
Definitely. Thanks, Andrew. And yeah, thanks from my side as well. I think it's been an exceptional afternoon. We managed to see quite a lot of animals, and really hope you guys will be back here soon in action with us, being able to enjoy these animals firsthand. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye, guys. Thank you very much for joining in. We're missing you all dearly here on the reserve. So hopefully to see you guys all soon very well. Bye-bye, everyone. Keep well.
Shelley, thank you so much. To all the rangers, thank you so much. We really appreciate the time you've taken to find so much game for us to see on this exclusive virtual safari. We really, really do appreciate that you've been able to join. I will send out emails post this event to everyone who has my email. And if anyone does want to make any donations, please do let us know. It goes a long way to supporting the team out there. Shelley, anything from you?
Great. Thanks, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. You are welcome to put your cameras on and give Duncan and the team a wave. I am recording this, and the recording will be sent to Duncan tomorrow. Cheers, and have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Have a great evening.